Hi everyone, bonjour, habari zenu, ohoro wanyu, guten tag. I hope you had an amazing week. Yes, it is me. I am back. I told you guys I was getting serious about my YouTube channel, and this is proof. Yeah, like I said, I have been very consistent with my content. It's just been mostly on, TikTok again. Longer form versus shorter form content. Upside, it's fast, easy to post, takes a very short time, minimal editing, because I'm more of a free-flowing person. So if I try to plan too much, it throws off my whole thing. So I see something, I react, I respond in real time, I post it. YouTube, I have to be more purposeful with what I'm saying, what I'm doing. Now, today we're going to be talking about something controversial, which it really should not be, which speaks a lot to what is going on in the world right now. The fact that it's controversial and not just normal to say such things. And I'm sure someone, somewhere, all of you watching this, if you've not heard about this, I would be very surprised considering the world being a global village. But trans children, can we talk about trans children? And before I go there, I am going to make a very unnecessary disclaimer and say that I have nothing against trans people at all. My issue is with children being transitioned. Children are children. Children are too young and too immature to drink alcohol, to vote, to get a tattoo, and yet they're not too young to start taking puberty blockers. And we are okay with this. Something's broken. I will also mention that I do have quite a few personal friends I have that are detransitioners, and their viewpoint changed my entire view on this thing. I already felt a certain way about it, but watching people go through it and suffer through it, regret, it's been eye-opening. It's also been very eye-opening to watch the amazing alphabet community being so supportive and being sarcastic. They ostracize them, they stigmatize them, and they insult them when they try to share their stories. If you've made the change and it's been good for you, I am so happy for you. And as long as you made it as a consenting adult, and even as an adult, technically, until you're 25 years old, our prefrontal cortex is not finished developing. You're just a grown person, but you're not a grown adult. You're someone who can do things legally. It doesn't mean you're done maturing. Until you're 25 years old, we make this most foolish decisions. I'm gonna be 38 in a month exactly, and some of the things I thought as a child, even when I was 18, you look back and you're like, I knew nothing. Things you claimed, things you said, you regret them. These are not life-altering decisions. Some are. Some are just things you thought, assumptions you made. Oh, when I'm a mom, I'm gonna do this. Bitch! You have a child first and then see how that goes. Now, that being said, I'm gonna talk about why this is an issue for me, and it's an issue for a lot of people. Like I said, I know a lot of trans people who have detransitioned. They're dealing with a lot of consequences and pain, a lot of regret. And even if there is no regret per se, this is still a huge decision that you need to really think about. But unfortunately, those that we put in charge of us, including some of these parents, if you're a parent and you are convinced your child is trans, you may have Munchausen by proxy. Because why do you feel the need to validate your child so much you forget to be their parent? A parent does not mean you agree to everything. Some children are delulu. If my son is 8, if he decided, oh, today I feel like an eagle, I'm not gonna tell him to go and fly just to test his powers. Why? Because it's ridiculous. Why can't we see that? A 6-year-old doesn't know it. They don't even... You're telling me a 6-year-old wants to play pretend and they feel like in the wrong body and you're just gonna go along with it? They're 6. They're 6. They're 6. And I wish this was just an American problem, but it's not. Canada, I think, is even worse. Thanks to Trudeau, Mr. F-Boy Trudeau. The woke agenda has penetrated our society in such ways I never thought I would see. The advent of the internet, I'm one of those old school. Now, I grew up in Kenya, okay, in 86. I grew up in Kenya, so I'm technically a Zennial. By American standards, I'm a millennial, but you know, again, third world country, we caught up a bit slower, so I identify as a Zennial. And we had all these things growing up. We had tomboys growing up. Things were very normal. We did not have a lot of the gender ideologies. And I think that's just one trend that we're going to look back in history and there'll be so much regret. That people were convinced in their brains that they were something they were not, all because they felt wrong, they felt like they had to fit in. And why are you trying to get to fit in? Why do you care if you fit in? You're not supposed to fit in. That's the whole point. If you feel like being a tomboy, be a tomboy. If you want to be a tom girl, be a tom girl. Gender roles change over time. They're very cultural. Gender ideology is very much a social construct. Gender is not a social construct. Gender is connected to your sex, your biology. But people are so convinced now because of social media sensationalism and because of the desensitization that has happened over the years in our media that you can change your gender by cutting things off or taking hormones. The same hormones women, biological women, sometimes are not even allowed to take to handle their own hormonal issues. And no one is asking questions about this. And if you've put your trust in a doctor and you think a doctor knows what's best for your child, you better think again. You better think again. These doctors are in cahoots with big pharma. You're going to become a lifetime member of a pharmaceutical world because that's money for them. Okay, this whole gender surgeries, reassignment surgeries, they're such an experimental issue. It's so experimental. They don't know what to do if they mess up, which, let's get serious. I compiled a few videos I found on YouTube and TikTok. I want you to watch for yourself and see what these detransitioners are going through.
You might know, my name is Ash and I am a detransitioner. I recently made a little video on this topic, not really explaining much of it, and got quite a bit of backlash in my comment section, so I just want to come on and share my story. And some of you guys, you're gonna hate me for this, but I need to speak the truth. And I don't care what you say in my comments, I'm not gonna turn my comments off. Growing up, I didn't really show any signs of gender dysphoria. I was perfectly happy with my body and being a girl, and of course I was uncomfortable with, like, puberty and stuff, but that was for other reasons. Every girl is uncomfortable with their changing body. And when I was 13, I started to struggle a lot with depression, anxiety, that sort of stuff. I spent a lot of time on the internet, specifically TikTok, way more than I should have, rather than going out in the real world, especially with COVID and everything else that was going on. Now, at the time, there were a million videos of all these trans people coming out, and because I was so unhappy with myself and who I was, I thought that that might be what was wrong with me, and it was me trying to fit myself into a box that I simply didn't fit into. In a way, I sort of brainwashed myself into thinking that I had gender dysphoria. And naturally, this brought me into a really bad place mentally, where I started struggling with drugs, self-harm, suicidal ideation, all that stuff, and pass as female. Of course, there's a lot of changes that are permanent that I'm gonna have to live with for the rest of my life. After about 2 years of living as a male, I realized I was wrong. But I didn't come out about that right away. I stayed living as male for another year before I really finally decided that I needed to do this.
My name is Max. My pronouns are he, him. I'm a
Hey Max, my name is Austin. I am that 40-year-old detransitioner that you say you'll never be. And I want to say that I also thought when I was your age that I would never ever detransition either, that I 100% knew who I was then, there, and I would always be unfalteringly unchangeable. You know, I really believed that. I transitioned really young too, but obviously in a much different time, in a much different socioeconomic bracket than what I kind of perceive you to have grown up in. And that's no shade, that's just the real tea. But I think it's really dangerous for you to come on TikTok and say that people shouldn't listen to the detrans movement just because you may or may not disagree with some of our politics, pushing so hard to make sure that children are medicalized. Like, you have no idea what 20 plus years of HRT will do to your bladder or your endocrine system or your urethra. I do. it's not what you think. It has irreversible side effects and damages.
I medically transitioned at the age of 26. I'm male. And I had a lot of mental health issues from a variety of different things growing up. Autistic, OCD, really bad OCD, like severe. Didn't really fit in. I was gay, and I grew up in the 90s and the 2000s, and gay was always the butt of the joke. And it was like, I kind of had a feeling that it might have been accepted, but I knew it wasn't like the favorable outcome. So I kind of catastrophized myself a little bit too much, and I was a little bit like, I really don't want to be this way. A case that you have this mystical gender identity, it's quite simple, really. You've got somebody with trauma, you've got somebody who's got a very black and white view of the world, you know, of men and women and stuff like that, same-sex attraction, really bad mental health, bullying, not fitting in, and you find the trans community, and they basically are like, yep, that's you, you know.
This is a topic that I feel so passionately about, and it's gonna be in different parts. I might just be dressed the same because I'm gonna make it a long video, but I'm gonna cut it into chunks because it is a lot to talk about in detail. But I'm gonna say this: be careful what you expose your children to. Some of these people, some of these trans kids who thought they were in the wrong body, are people who just were watching the wrong things. And I understand it's more difficult now than it was in the 90s to keep our children from the screens, but it is your job as a parent to protect your child. It is your job as a parent to monitor what they are doing on their phones. Stop allowing them on social media before they are 18. There was no such thing as social media when I was growing up. Facebook became a thing in 2008 in Kenya is when I joined Facebook. Someone invited me, and I was in university at the time. TikTok. Do you, parents, I'm talking to the parents now, do you have any idea what's on that app? Do you have any idea that there is nudity on that app? Do you understand there are predators on that app? There are groomers, they are grooming your children. We are living in a society, unfortunately, even in America, especially in America, where in blue states, which I'm going to go into detail about what a blue state is and what a blue city is, where teachers, my mother is a teacher. Okay, she's a retired teacher now. She was a secondary school, high school teacher. And can you imagine a teacher coming into the classroom and telling you their sexual preferences? Why is that being allowed? Why is that being allowed? Why is a whole teacher being allowed to come into the classroom with their rainbow colors and their rainbow earrings and their rainbow bracelet and tell 5, 6, 7-year-olds that I identify as Miss this and this today, but tomorrow I feel like a Mr. this and this? That's grooming. That is grooming behavior. Why do schools feel that they have the power to take children away from you when you don't reaffirm their gender? This is why people are moving away from states like California, moving away from states like New York, because the governors in those states are the most woke. It's just sickening at this point. I have not even touched on Pride show, Pride parades. That would be for another day because guy. Why are you people exposing your kids to this crap? And you wonder why when they turn 8, they're like, oh, mommy, I feel like a boy. I don't want to go through puberty. I don't want to be a girl. You are a girl. You were created a girl. The creator does not make any mistakes. I don't care what you believe in, whether it's God or it's Buddha or you're a Hindu, whatever it is, you need to believe in a higher power and you need to treat your children the same. Because this need for validation and acceptance is why we are where we are now as a society, where kids have this thought in their head that they're convinced they're in the wrong body. Do you think puberty is fun? Puberty is not supposed to be fun. No one had fun. I did not have fun going through puberty. Do you know how I thought I was dying? I thought I was dying now I will say we were taught what a period was. We knew what to expect. Ish. Not in detail, but you knew you're going to grow up, you're going to be a girl, you're going to bleed. But when it happened to me, I was convinced I was on my deathbed. I freaked out. My mom was somewhere. I think she was, I don't know, it was a holiday and she was busy. She was out probably doing holiday classes at her school. But I freaked out, and luckily there we had a maid there. Call her nanny if you want. and she was able to calm me down. Because the first time my period came, it wasn't blood, it looked like I had worms. So I was like, okay, puberty is not freaking fun. When the boobies are coming in, we are itchy, but you don't want to itch in front of the boys, so you're like this. Guide your child through these changes because they are not going to be forever. It's a transitional period. They'll grow up and you're gonna grow into yourself. I promise. Little kids, not like this video get little kids, but I know it feels confusing right now, but I promise you, anyone who tells you in the wrong body is not looking out for your best interest, because that means the person who created you made a mistake and they did not. And I promise you, making those changes and being in so much pain because you're wearing a chest binder because you hate your breasts, it's going to lead to a lot of damage. I hope that people can take heed. I'm so happy that these detransitioners are speaking out. I'm happy that they have a voice, even if they're being gaslit, because that's what happens. Tolerant left. Oh, they're so tolerant. We agree with you unless you go against us, then, and that's what happens. The detransitioners are trying to speak out and say how, this is my experience. Please wait until you are a consenting adult. Wait until, and I'm telling you, even 21 is not old enough. Because until your prefrontal cortex is done developing, you're still a child. Your brain function for making decisions is not there yet. Just wait. Go through life and see how you feel. If you want to love, if you're a girl and you like to dress as a boy, do that. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. You don't have to wear flowers and be freely. I was a tomboy. I was very much a tomboy. But I think part of it was I didn't feel feminine. And I was a late bloomer. It took a long time to develop. And when I did develop, my breast was super big. And I was very uncomfortable. I was very self-conscious about them. And I noticed people looking at them, especially boys and their hormones. Guy. So I just felt the need to cover up. Okay. But I promise you, it passes. But if you want to dress a certain way, dress a certain way. Can we bring back tomboys, guys? Can we please bring back tomboys? Can we bring back self-expression? The emo kids, guys, I'm talking to the guys now. Men, boys, actually it's boys, more like boys. If you feel like you want to wear black nail polish and go for a goth vibe, go for it. It doesn't mean you're a girl. It means you're rock and roll. You're one of the cool ones. I don't believe in fitting in. But when you do go through all these changes, you're trying to fit in with your friends. Your friends are pressuring you to change who you are and you think they're your friends. And once you go against that whole plan and that whole way of thinking, are they going to be your friends still? I don't think so. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, share, and hit that little notification bell so you can get a notification whenever I post a new video. Kenyan Hippie out. Mwah.